Welcome to Provider Live Streaming. Really want to encourage people to ask questions because we haven't had many pre-prepared questions sent in, and I will run out of things to say if I don't get questions. So please, if you've just joined this and you have questions that you'd like answered, please either enter them onto the screen or email them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. This is your opportunity to ask questions. I can't promise that I'll be able to answer them, but if I can't answer them now, I'll make sure that we provide you the information when we can. So that is, really want to encourage you to send in your questions now. So just want to give you a quick update of where we're at. Probably the really exciting highlight for me over the last month is that we now have 2 directors who've started in Mid Central. So on the 9th of July, actually I'm just trying to remember if I've got the exact right date. I think it was the 9th of July, Marshall Tato started as the System Enabling Team Director, and on the next day, Lorna Sullivan started as the new Director for the Disabled People and whānau Supporting Team. So that feels like real progress, that we've actually now got people on the ground for the 2 teams in Mid Central. Also, over the last month, there's been a lot of recruitment. So we went out for people for connectors, for a network builder, for government liaisons, for funding coordinators, for disability information people, administrators and a business insight specialist. And so we're still just completing that recruitment, but there's been a lot of interviewing people, and we're expecting to have most people, if not everybody, on board by the 27th of August. So that is we'll start inducting people that date, which will give them 5 weeks before we start on the 1st of October. Obviously that won't be the end of development for staff. We'll be continuing to develop people throughout the prototype, and there'll be a real focus on that to start off with. So starting to get some questions. So the first question is, how can providers outside of Mid Central prepare for the changes? So you may remember that in the Cabinet paper that went in April, there is some funding that has been approved for national workshops, and we're about to go out we're about to go out to the sector around contract for delivering that. So this builds on the work that the National Leadership Group and the New Zealand Disability Support Network have done to date, where there have been Vision and Principles workshops around New Zealand. And so the idea is we've got funding in there to be able to do workshops around New Zealand, and that will be targeted at disabled people, whānau members, providers, workforce, and also some particular focus on Māori and Pacific peoples in that. So we will start to be able to talk more about that, and that's realistically that won't start until probably the middle of September. The first stage is to put a contract in place for that to happen. The other thing is, of course, for providers to be able to keep an eye on what's happening in Mid Central. So things like the live streaming forums, once we start on the 1st of October, there will be information coming out about what's happening, including what are we seeing from the perspective of providers. So that will be another way for you to kind of keep an eye on and prepare for changes, and maybe talk to providers who are based in Mid Central. Had a question that Karen emailed in earlier. When will the work around market shaping begin? So the first workshop for the market shaping working group is going to be on the 7th of August. So that's about a week and a half away. And that working group is going to focus on what's the long-term view around the sorts of things that we need to put in place in terms of market shaping, but also what do we need to put in place during the prototype. So there will be thinking about the long term with some practical, these are the sorts of things we're going to try in the prototype. So I know that it feels like it's quite late, but we've got quite a lot of time in the prototype to try things, and so we're putting things, there's still a big part of the prototype is learning from it and gathering information, and so we are expecting to try, learn and adjust on the market shaping as well. Really want to welcome people who have just joined live streaming. Really want to encourage, if you have questions, please send them through. If we run out of questions during this, we will wrap up early, so really want to encourage people to either type them onto the screen or send them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. Had a question from Jeff asking, how will disabled people find out about our services if the NAS stops making referrals? So we will be seeking information from existing providers and new providers to have available on the website about what you offer. So there will be objective information on the website about the providers who are in Mid-Central and the sorts of things that they offer. And there'll be a space for you to have testimonials from disabled people and whānaus who've used your services there. But also we will have connectors starting to work with people who will be able to point people to the information that's available about what support is on offer, and who will be able to also take people, put them in touch with providers and potentially come along with them to introduce you. So we will be getting in touch with providers over the next 2 months, because we'll need that information to be available on the website from the 1st of October. Just had an email from Jennifer. Disabled people who get respite, will this be the same as what they currently get or more? So in terms of on the whatever support people are getting on the 30th of September will be exactly the same support that they get on the 1st of October. So if people want to make changes, want to think about doing things differently, they can contact the 2 teams in the new system, and we will be sending out information to make that available close to the time. We're just getting to the point of having email addresses and phone numbers and the website available. So once we have that information, we'll make it available. But that will be from the 1st of October. People will be able to contact and say, really want to meet with a connector and to be able to start talking about what I want in my life and thinking about doing things differently. Or you can wait to the point when you come to a regular review point. And at that point, we will contact you to again, offering access to a connector if you want, or if you don't want to go through the process just to review what you've got in place. And in that, we can talk about different options for respite. Follow-on question, will people be able to apply online? So yes, you will be able to, the disabled people and whānau will be able to contact people in the new system. And it sounds really awkward when I say in the new system. They'll be able to ring us up, they will be able to email, they will be able to come face to face. So we're going to have a physical presence in 5 locations around Mid-Central, and there will be people available at least 2 days a week to start off with in Otaki and Levin, Fielding and Dannevirke, and also a face-to-face presence in Palmerston North. So yes, people will be able to contact us by email. It won't be applying, it'll be contacting us and then starting to have a conversation. If you choose to work with a connector, it will be having that conversation with a connector. If you choose not to work with a connector, there will still be a conversation that needs to be had, but that might be email, phone, Skype, however you'd like to have that, because we'll still need some information from you about what you're wanting out of your life, what support's needed to get there, to work through that funding process. Grant's just commented on the page, you've mentioned a website that providers can have information on. What is this website? Is this the Information Hub front end? So we're currently developing the website. It isn't available yet. We're expecting to have it available for prior to the 1st of October, but probably not too much before the 1st of October. And on that, that will be the website that has all the information about the new system and how things work, and that will include the information about providers. And yes, this is the Information Hub front end, what we called what was called the information hub front end in the original design document, you'll remember that there's kind of a triangle that has a website as the bottom bit, the ability to email, phone, have face-to-face, and then there's also the ability to go through peer networks. So there'll be information available on the website about peer networks, whether they're disabled people or family networks, but there will also be the ability to contact and talk to somebody about those. And we will also have connectors following up with people when they first find out they have an impairment, to say, look, when you may not be ready to talk to us, but when you are, there is support available, and here's where you go to get that support. And we'll also have connectors working in communities to build relationships, particularly the types of communities who haven't traditionally engaged with disability support. Wyatt emailed in earlier, do you know what changes we're expecting disabled people to want from our services? So I think in that the kinds of things that we're hearing from disabled people in whānau is that they want more flexible support options that are based on what they're interested in, their aspirations, and helps to build on their strengths. But I think the best way for providers to understand is to talk to disabled people and families about what do you like about what we currently provide. If we did things differently, what would be important to you? What would work for you? What are the sorts of things you're after? And the other thing is that disabled people and families want to be able to have a greater say and more decision making around their support. So looking at how can you create more chances for people to practice decision making and to make decisions about their support on a daily basis. I've had posted inquiry or comment posted about what services or information will parents with young children with disability be able to access. So in terms of information for parents of young children, there will be information available on the website that is tailored in particular to parents with young children with impairments, but also, again, we'll have connectors who are skilled at working with parents with young children and who are able to provide all the information about what support is available, but also to look at what are the other options available in the community for disabled children to be included with other children. This is an area that we have got a particular work stream that we're working with in terms of trying to bring the support that is currently provided by the Ministry of Health and Education closer together, so that for families and children with disabilities, they get a support that is across their whole life, not just one aspect of their life. So things like having support that can be used at home as well as at their early childhood centre, but also having fewer people in their lives, so sort of one person taking a lead on providing support, but with a real focus on how do we make it so that that support is provided in everyday places so that children get to have the same experience as other children. So we're having a workshop on that next week, but it's an area that we're still working on, and we'll have more information about that going forward. Someone's just asked, will MOH's bulk funding with disability providers cease on the 1st of October 2018? No. So just a reminder that there will be a range of ways that people can access support after the 1st of October. And that includes people continuing to access support in the same way they do now, where they choose a provider that they want to work with, and the Ministry of Health manages pays for that support as part of a contract with providers. So that will still continue to be an option in the new system. So on the 1st of October, nothing will change around the individual arrangements that are in place. So whatever support people were getting on the 30th of September will continue on the 1st of October. and contracts will continue with existing providers. We are currently contacting providers to talk about what will change in terms of variations to contracts, and what we're looking there at is how can providers provide more flexible support options and give people more decision making over their support, but also to make sure that that support is based on the Enabling Good Lives vision and principles, and that is applied in the way that support is provided. So we have been contacting providers in their, on that, and we will continue to work with them. So no, I just really want to clarify that Ministry of Health contracts don't end in Mid-Central on the 30th of September. However, there will be other ways that people can access support. So the other options is that people might choose to have funding, direct funding that they manage to purchase support or arrange support, and that could include employing support workers, for example. People might also choose to go through a host provider like the current system around individualised funding, or they might choose to negotiate directly with a provider and to have an individual contract with them. So there will be a range of options available, but I just would like to just reiterate, no, our contracts don't stop with providers on the 1st of October. Just really want to welcome people to this. We've got about 10 minutes to go. Really want to encourage people to send in their questions, and you can do that by writing it on the site, or you can send them to stfeedback@moh.govt.nz. Just had a question from Graham. What role will the current diocese organisations play in providing information, and will this information be in the Central Information Hub? So Disability Information Advisory Services will continue to provide information. We're really focused at the moment, because it's a prototype, on what happens in the Mid-Central area. So it's around disability information for people based on that. And we'll be working with the DICE providers impacted. So there's kind of two types of DICE providers. There's sort of the local providers providing information, and then we've got national providers who work with specific impairment groups who provide information. And so we'll be working with both of those to make sure that information is available for disabled people and families from the 1st of October. And we will be working with people to get information. So that's part of the what are the sorts of information that would be helpful to have on the hub, and contacting the organisations, being able to verify that that information is relevant for the region, and then be able to make that available. I've just got a question from Alicia. What will happen with the current NAS system? So what will happen is that from the 1st of October, the Mid-Central NAS will be replaced by the two prototype teams, but there will be a transition arrangement, so that the sort of work that started before the 30th of September will be finished and handed over to the new team. That we have been working through that so that there are people who can pick up the roles and the functions that were done before the 30th of September. But the two new teams, so this is the Disabled People in Whānau supporting team that's made up of connectors and a network builder, and the system enabling team that has in it disability information people, funding coordinators, government liaisons, business insight, web services and administrators. They will replace what's currently done by the NASC. So instead of going to a NASC, you'll go to your contact, and there will be one contact, front-end contact of email address or phone number that will go to be answered by people from both teams. So the two teams will work very, very closely together. Just had a question. Thank you for your earlier response about parents with young children. Just to clarify, will there be support for parents themselves in addition to support to the children? So one of the things that we are expecting to get out to people next week is information about how you can make applications to the Capability Fund. And so we've got a Disabled People's and a whānau Capability Fund. And that's one of the options for there to be support for parents, and that is through the whānau Capability Fund. Also, when we're looking at the working with a family and a disabled child, part of that will be understanding what support the family needs within the context to support their child to have a good life. So that will be part of the things that you're talking to a connector about. Just had an email from Ivy. Will providers be able to support disabled people to apply for this capability funding? So I haven't got the specific words exactly in my head right now, but there is a video that will be available about this. The disabled people and families, or disabled people's groups and family groups, need to apply for the capability funding, or if it's the provider, they need to have the support of disabled people or family groups to apply for that. So it needs to be very clear that it's something that disabled people and families want, but there is the opportunity for a provider to work in partnership with them to apply for that. Just had a question. Has MOH accounted for personal budget for high complex support needs, i.e. 24/7 one-to-one care, which is currently affordable in a group setting? What if the person doesn't want to live in a group home? So absolutely within the scope of the we're looking at everyone who is currently accessing disability support is in scope for the prototype, and will be part of the new system from the 1st of October. We will be then offering access to a connector and going through the process to work out what people are looking to do in their lives and what support they need to get there. There will always be limits on the funding that's available, and what we will be doing is working with people to look at what's most important to them and what are the things that they want to, what are the things that are most important to them, and what are the ways they can achieve the kind of life that they want within the funding that's available. So I think it is about looking at what are the different options to be able to achieve the kind of life that you want that is outside of a group setting, or looking at what are different ways that you could develop a different type of group setting potentially, but there will be options to work through on that. So there will always be limits on the funding available, but there will be support from a connector if you want to work with a connector, and that you could work with a connector as an individual or as a group of families if that's what you'd like to do. I've got an email from Greg. Will disabled people be using their budgets to buy items? Do they have to be purchased from disability providers? There will be, so in terms of purchasing things, there will be the ability to purchase things within the prototype, but there will also continue to be some centralised purchasing of equipment where there are greater benefits from purchasing in bulk, greater benefits from doing that than what people get from being able to do it individually. But we're still trying to increase people's choice about the sorts of options that are available in terms of equipment. Got down to our last 5 minutes, so just really encouraging people to send any last questions. I've got a question from Graham. Is there a chance we can get more clarity on the proposed timing of nationwide rollout as put in the Cabinet paper, as we are hearing conflicting information? So the last Cabinet paper, in it said quite clearly that the Cabinet agreed to the prototype rolling out in Mid-Central, and that we would go back with advice around the next steps around expanding it beyond Mid-Central in late 2020. So that's the clarity that the most clarity I can give you at the moment is what has been agreed is to roll out the prototype from the 1st of October, And then in terms of further expansion and nationwide rollout, that will be subject to decisions in late 2020. Just really conscious, about 4 more minutes. Just really want to encourage people to send in any questions that they have. We might be finishing a tiny bit early. So we seem to have run out of questions. People can go back and watch from the start if they've missed anything. And please remember that if you have any questions that you didn't have a chance to ask now, you can always contact us at stfeedback@moh.govt.nz and we will respond to those. There will be more and more information available over the next couple of months too as we get closer to the start date. The next session for live streaming will be for disabled people on Monday night at 6:30 and please feel free to join us for that too.